Very good morning to you viewers out there. You are welcome to Dateline with Abuja Original Independent, a program proudly brought to you by SADC Social Economic Research Development Center based in Abuja, one of the NGOs under the funding of Makoto Foundation and Crescent. Dateline with Abuja Original Independent is a program that spotlights issues around original Abuja inhabitants, especially issues that affect them physically, materially, consciously, and otherwise. Issues around development, education, health, economy, and otherwise. So we spotlight this issue and we try as much as possible to draw government attention to it through our analysis, dissection, and explanation of some of the things around these issues that Abuja original inhabitant. I am Adifalayan Lamlekon, your host. In today's discussion, we'll be looking at youth engagement. How can we maximize youth engagement in FCT development? A lot of FCT youth are out there that government can cohort into engaging them to bring about development in the. And here we are today. We need to see how this maximization can take place, especially drawing government attention to certain issues that will help them to be able to make use of the youth of the FCT. Seated in the studio with me this morning to help us analyze and dissect this issue is Zaria Nathan. Zaria Nathan is the Executive Director of Absent League Initiative, an organization that is out to influence youth on how they can participate in politics, economic development, and otherwise. Zaria, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right now. And also, for our viewers out there, Zaria is a youth advocate also. He has been advocating on better ways that youth can be useful in Nigerian society. So on that note, I want to ask you, Zaria, share your experience with us as a youth advocate.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers. It's been a wonderful time working as a youth influencer, as a youth advocate. I remember on several occasions we've done a lot of activities saying that we influence the lives of young people positively. It's been a wonderful experience. Majorly, my focus has been at the grassroots, where I work with students, I encourage them. Apart from going to school, having a certificate, there's more that young people can actually look at, especially in a Nigeria like this, where we have situations of unemployment and a lot more. So it's been a very wonderful time. It's been a very swift years for me working as an influencer and as a youth advocate.
Okay. Now, on that part, if you look at what the government have been doing so far over the years in terms of engaging with the youth of Nigeria, now we are micro zooming it to Abuja. We are looking at youth in FCT. We are looking at the youth of the 6th area council, the youth of the 18 chiefdom in FCT, at the youth of the that are in various 62 political wards across FCT, and the youth that belong to the 9 ethnic group in FCT. We talk about the Gbagi, we talk about the Koro, we talk about the Gwandara, talk about the Nupe people, we talk about the Gberakoto. These are the youth we are talking about. Now, in your own estimation, in your own assessment, do you think that government have been doing enough to engage this set of youth that we are looking at today?
Okay, I think government has not really been adamant of what is going on. Government has actually also been doing its own part. So that's where the question, has it been doing enough? We can actually say government is trying, but when you have the whole essence of youth engagement is to obtain results. Okay, when the result is showing that it is positive, then you say youth engagement is fulfilled. So I think at this point we can't categorically say youth engagement is at its optimal level when we are looking at. Looking at Abuja, the FCT, we can't completely say Abuja, because it is the FCT, the youth are completely at their best, are completely empowered. In fact, there is a large population of this FCT that is still very poor, very, very poor. I visited IDP camps here within Abuja. I have seen the level of backwardness, and I wonder, is this Abuja? I know there are villages, but there are still remote places within this Abuja that you still see people are very poor, people are very handicapped, people are very helpless. In schools I have visited, you see children, they can't even afford uniforms. You see a lot of, you know that these people are in a very poor state. I think if you enter Maitama, you enter the main areas within Abuja, you will feel everything is all right.
Exactly.
But I think the government should look deeply into youth engagement, because a lot of young people are still helpless with nothing to do. So I think the government has not done enough.
Exactly. Now, in regards to the government not being able to do enough, people will always say that there are challenges before the government. Is it that the youth themselves are not putting themselves forward, or is it that government is just reluctant? In your own understanding, in your own history of these issues, especially for someone like you who are mingling with the youth in FCT, what do you think is the problem per se? Because I know someone will say it is funding. And let us rule out funding. Although we cannot say funding is not the problem, but let us keep funding apart. What else is the challenge that engaging this youth has become a militant issue?
All right. Actually, the problems are enormous. We cannot completely exhaust the problem with engaging the youth within this within the FCT. But first of all, let me say, youth engagement and enhancement, youth participation, first is the job of the youth. So before I talk about funding and all of that, let me begin with what is most pivotal. The youth has his own part, which is the ultimate to play when it comes to youth engagement, because the government can come and put every program at your doorstep, but if you can't access it. So first and foremost, I would say it's the job of the youth to get engaged, right? So that's where the first problem I can pinpoint. The youth, we still have a lot out there. Perhaps I would say they are not educated. They are aware, and that's why education I see as paramount. We still have some baggy people within this the inhabitants, the original inhabitants of this territory that are not schooled completely. You go out there, you meet them, you still meet people who are inhabitants of this space who are doing begging job on the streets. All they do is they wake up, they see you, they beg. And is it that they originally want to beg? I feel it all boils down to knowledge. Because once you know, you are exonerated from every hazard that non-engagement can bring. So I think the youth need to be engaged. That is, they need to be educated.
Exactly.
Once education comes, self-discovery comes, and one can become productive of himself. Whether the government brings something to his doorstep or not, he or she can put himself in one or two areas and begin to bring resources out of himself and for his family. So the problem has been with the youth themselves, who are not aware of who they are and what they ought to do. And then I think organizations have really been trying.
We will get to that. We'll get to organization level. We'll continue.
I think the government also should just endeavor that programs that involve predominantly the original inhabitants who are at the extreme, we call them villages.
Exactly.
We have a lot of Sokoro village. So programs, government programs should be taken to all these areas to ensure that these people are at least, they know themselves, they get to discover themselves, and then value systems and bring up the youth around those areas. Very important.
Very well. You know, well said from you. And again, as I pointed out, self-discovery is one of the key issues which is still a problem among the youth in the FCT. Most of them have not been able to discover who they are and how they can make use of themselves so that government can tap into whatever skills they have. Now, for those of us watching this program, this is Dateline with Abuja Original Interpretant, a program built by SADC. SADC is Socio-Economic Research Development Center based in Abuja and is sponsored by Christ and Makoto Foundation. This program comes your way every Friday by 9 a.m. This is the TV aspect of it. They will also have the radio section of it by 10:30 a.m. on Independent Radio 89.7 FM Abuja. My guest, who is Zara, will also be there with me on the radio section to also analyze some of the issues we are looking at, which is maximizing youth engagement in FCT development. How can we make use of these youth people so that they can be part and parcel of the development process in the FCT? That is what we are looking at. Zaria have been able to optimize that. One, there is a problem. The problem is that most of the youth have discovered themselves. Then two, we know that government alone cannot do this, but government effort is still a little bit little. So they need to carry some of the effort they are doing down to the remote area which he has identified. And what this means is that we need to just have to make sure that we make use of this youth and maximize the skills they have, the knowledge they have. Even though Zaria have been able to say that some of them are not educated, that means they need more education. And in the regard of education, Zaria, someone will want to say, is it formal education that they need or informal education or a mix in between? So what's your take? Because you're also an educationist.
All right. Education is holistic.
Exactly.
Education does not have a factor carved out of it and one left behind. Education simply means the totality of the experiences one is exposed to. So the experience could be formal, the one we have in the classroom, and the experience can also be informal. There are forms of education you get outside of the classroom, which it's not everybody that must go to school accepted, but it is targeted that whether you go to school or not, you must positively influence your society. You must be of benefit immediate society and the one beyond. Education is holistic, like I said, and I think the one informal, the formal and the informal should be taken care of.
That means you are suggesting that is mix of
yes, entrepreneurship, which can be gotten outside of school, and then the formal education. When you mix the two together, one is informed or one knows what he is supposed to do, and then how to do it is the practical aspect of it.
And I want to agree with you on that, because most times, like SADC now, SADC are an NGO that have been part and parcel ensuring that the youth in FCT get skills information, or skills acquisition, skills information, because also skills information and also ability to make use of what they have in their environment, in engaging, especially in economic issues. And SADC has been carrying out certain activities all along. Now, in this regard now, for you and for your, how do you see NGOs participate in this youth program and engaging them? What do you think they need to cover up? Because of them are doing a lot of work, but sometimes it is very, I hardly see some of the results immediately on the short term, but doing a lot. So in your regard, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, I think organizations are really trying. I wanted to start that earlier. Yes, organizations are really doing well. Having visited some of the IDPs within Abuja, I've seen projects, I've seen landmarks of activities of other organizations, a lot of things they have done. I met some organizations there who were actually carrying out a project, and one of the things they were doing was to buy learning materials for the learners. I saw them distributing exercise books, I saw them distributing textbooks and a lot of other gadgets for the learners. So organizations have really been doing well. My own part of the organization, because of what you mentioned of funding, I've not really been able to do enough, but the little our organization will be able to do so far is engage young people in skill acquisition. In many cases, you go to schools, you just need to encourage them. So we print books, exercise schools. We give to them as a token. Sometimes we want to give best graduating student, like this term that is about to terminate in the next by next month. We'll also be going to schools. We give gifts to best graduating student. We give gifts to best the neatest student, best student in this, best student, as a way of encouraging them. Young people. So predominantly we also do awareness. Awareness is key. Like I said earlier, once one needs to discover himself, and that can only be done on the premise of awareness. So after awareness, and then you start bringing in motivative strategies to encourage young people. And I think one other way organizations can still achieve this is out of school activities, which I have not been part of, but I know some organizations have delved into such areas, but I think it's an area we've not given much attention, priority. You know, when you have some of the ones in school are the ones that have been helped already. Now, what about, there are many out there. You know, we need to go out there. How many children are out of school? There are some research about out of school,
about 16 to 20 million children.
Out of school children, and we still have them in FCT here. During school hours, if you go out there, you still meet children. You have why are you not in school? They won't say anything. That means we still have a good number of them, and I think out of school children should be looked into. So organizations predominantly have been doing a lot. I want to recommend, I want to commend them for such efforts, and there is room for more. Although you may still have some hitches, one or two areas that you can point finger at. Like you go to some areas, you see where people collect money from funders, and all they do is just look for how they can get pictures and all of that and send without the work not being done. We have those exceptional cases, but I think on the average, organizations are really doing quite well.
Very well, and for SADC also has been doing, from what we have said, SADC is doing very well in terms of engaging with people, because their own thematic area is participation and empowerment. And one of the key issues about participation and empowerment is that the youth need to be engaged, especially FCT youth need to be engaged, and maximizing the engagement is the key of this particular discussion today, because with the development that we're expecting in FCT, if the youth are not there, if they are not engaged, we don't see that development taking place or coming to fruition as expected, because the youth have a lot to do, especially when we talk about inclusion or inclusive development program or participative development program. The youth have to be carried along. This Dateline with Abuja Regional, the program probably brought to you by SADC. SADC is Socio-Economic Research Development Center, and one of the NGOs sponsored by Makoto and Crescent, to ensure that FCT inhabitants have a role of participation, empowerment, and also getting something to help them in their livelihood. And today too is about engaging the FCT youth, especially those ones across the 6 area councils in Gwagwalada, in Kubwa, in Kwale, in Buhari, in Kuje, in Abaji, and in Amak. The 6 area councils, these FCT youth are all spread across the, they need to be engaged. We also have them in the 62 political ward across the FCT, the 9 that make up the FCT original inhabitants, and the 16 chiefdom that are spread. These youth are there. And one of the key aspects of what SADC is doing is that they want to ensure that these are engaged. And that's why over the past 3 weeks, thereby into 1 month, SADC has been engaging in capacity building across the 6 area councils. And that's why today we are looking at how to maximize this aspect of the youth in ensuring that FCT development is inclusive, with youth participating and contributing their quota. And guest here, Zaria Nathan, a youth influencer, a youth innovator, and the executive director of Absent League Initiative. I've said it all. One is that the youth need to discover themselves. 2 is that it is not about money, but engaging productively. And with that, I want to ask Zaria a particular question. Do you think the youth themselves, apart from what you have said earlier, that they need to discover themselves, are they ready to ensure that they put their own contribution into FCT development?
I think the youth, we have a good number of them out there, and potentials, not just being empty. There are Nigerian youths within this territory with lots of potentials that need to be tapped. The truth about potentials and human beings is that somebody can have something, but he doesn't know he have it. Having a car and or having a potential in you and without knowing you have it is a big issue. So one needs to come and tell you that, oh, you have this. Now we have the Ministry of Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport, who at their own side are trying to do enough to see that sport is encouraged. But if you look at that area now, how many I don't really see sports being the optimal of youth involvement within the territory. Many people are just busy, you know. If you go to other states, you find football pitches all around, you find sports. I can see them, but they are not really enough. You know, but you have talent. Now, there are a lot of skills out there, and there are a lot of young people with these potentials. You wouldn't know, a friend of mine met someone who decided to say, what do you want to learn? He said he wanted to, he's good at electronics. That's how he got engaged into electronics. And he has his own shop right now as we speak. He's doing well. He has a family, he has a house now within Abuja by himself. Why? Somebody tapped into the frequency of his own ability and skills and made him better. So the youth actually, I feel they have the potentials. Some of them are aware, while some of them are not aware. So those who are not aware, we make them we create awareness. Those who are aware but have no capacity, that is where we need to create room for capacity building.
Exactly.
Yes, where we engage them like SEDEC is doing. I think a good job on their part. So the youths are many and they have potentials, but these potentials need to be tapped.
I take that from you. The youth are many, they have potential, but we need to use that potential. We will retool it and it impact in FCT development, because to maximize the youth in FCT, it means that we have to tap into their skills, we have to tap into their knowledge, we need to tap into their wealth of ability and creativity in doing things across. Now, another thing that I also want you to quickly address is that what would be your advice to FCT youth? Because we're rounding up now.
Okay, quickly. This the current situation at hand is becoming very tough. 2 days ago, the United Nations came up with the data, United Nations rather came up with the data that about 4 million Nigerians have gone down the of poverty, and 101 million are still waiting. So the graph is actually going up. The poverty graph is going up. So our young people need to understand the peculiarity of the times they are in. You know, it's not the time you just see a lady, you love her, and then you think all ends about love. No. There is a lot. So once this understanding is there, I will encourage young people to whether government come or whether individuals come, understand that the times we are in are very perilous times. They are very difficult times. So we need to get engaged in one way or the other to see that we get positive results.
Thank you very much, Nathan, a youth influencer, a youth innovator, the executive director of Absent League Initiative. He has been speaking to us on maximizing for FCT development. We are almost off the time, but we just have to go now. Till we come your way next week, I am Adam Lamlikon. Have a wonderful weekend.